They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up.
Now, what you just saw is this clip from the Joe Rogan podcast, where it really pulls you in fast. Joe's sitting down with Taylor Kitsch, yeah, the actor, but here he's not talking about movies or fame. They're unpacking one of the strangest and most confusing stories to hit the news lately. The whole incident around Charlie Kirk, and how the details just keep getting weirder the more you look at them. What starts off sounding like a simple discussion about what happened quickly spirals into this wild mix of eyewitness oddities, suspicious coincidences, and just flat-out bizarre behavior that makes you question what's real and what's staged.
You set it up in a way that, like, okay, you're saying something that's actually factually inaccurate,
Right.
according to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird shit going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child porn. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right. Right.
Right. And because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT fucking perplexity things, like, what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved? Like, zero.
This is the guy?
Yeah.
I just like that the pants down part is just insane to me. It's like, why is your dick out, dude?
Listen, I'm not saying this guy isn't insane. He's clearly insane, or not, or he's professionally insane.
Now, when they start breaking down the shooting angle, literally the shooting itself, it gets even more interesting. They're basically debating whether a young, untrained person could realistically make a shot from 200 yards away. And honestly, this is one of those topics where people underestimate how much training actually goes into hitting a precise target at that range. Sure, if you've got a well-zeroed rifle and you've practiced a bit, you can hit a target consistently. But if someone's never fired a weapon before, it's not as simple as pulling the trigger and nailing a bullseye.
I almost texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old, whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty accurate.
Nope.
No?
Not hard. Not hard at all. Let me dispel that.
Okay.
Okay. 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. So if you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to shoot. It is not hard at all.
He shot a lot?
You don't have to shoot a lot. So you could do it tomorrow.
If you're no, but you are experienced. If it's someone that's never shot, could they do it?
100%. Not
Really?
if they've never shot, they wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring the like when you look through a scope, like when the reticle is weird, like it's sometimes
Takes a minute.
you got to know the distance that you have to be from it to really line it up in your sights. But you could get a guy like my friend Andy Stumpf, who was a sniper in the SEALs. You could get him and he could show you how to do it in an afternoon, and then you could hit steel at 200 yards every time you pulled the
One
trigger.
day you could learn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not that hard.
Because it feels insane to me. I'm like, that seems tough.
It seems tough.
Okay, now they're diving into the weapon itself, talking about whether it had a scope, whether it was some old World War I rifle, or something modernized. This is where conspiracy theories often find oxygen, in the little inconsistencies. Because think about it, they're saying it's a gun with no serial number, from a century ago, yet it supposedly shoots with modern accuracy? That's odd. A well-maintained rifle can last for decades, sure. Guns don't really expire. But if you're telling me this ancient weapon, conveniently impossible to trace, just happened to perform flawlessly, that's going to raise eyebrows. It sounds like someone deliberately chose a piece of equipment that would muddy the story from the start.
We still haven't figured out whether or not the gun that shot Trump had a sight on it, because we weren't sure if it had a sight on it or if this guy was using iron sights. That was 140 yards. If you shot it with iron sights, that's a lot harder, because iron sights is you're lining up. So you have these two things in the back and there's one thing at the front of the barrel, and you got to line those bitches up perfectly, and that's how you stay accurate. That is a lot harder to do.
It's like those shotguns have those, right?
Sure,
yeah.
pistols.
Yeah,
but you didn't buy a Glock. That's what it comes with.
Right.
But this kid had a rifle with a scope. Now here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle, looked like a sophisticated modern scope on it. Sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old gun? Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is it possible that an old gun can be that accurate? If you have a gunsmith and they work on it, yeah, it's totally possible. You have a really good gunsmith and he sets, if you're like a nostalgic person, you like driving an old car, you can bring it to a mechanic, they could redo the brakes.
Sure.
So if you had a good gunsmith and he took a look at that and the action was true and, you know, the bore is good, you know, yeah, you could conceivably shoot with a gun for hundreds of years, right? Guns don't necessarily go bad.
Right. They don't expire.
Right. And especially because all this stuff, like the trigger and the action and all that different stuff is replaceable. So you could just like, it's compartmentalized. It's components. That's the other thing.
Here's where it starts sounding flat out cinematic, apparently. The claim is that this kid took the rifle apart, put it in a backpack, climbed onto a roof, and then reassembled it. So Monday, that's not something an average person does in the middle of chaos. Even a skilled gunsmith would need space, focus, and tools to disassemble and reassemble a rifle properly. Trying to do that secretly on a rooftop? It's just not adding up. And this is where public skepticism kicks in. People aren't dumb. You can tell when details sound manufactured, like they're being added after the fact to patch up holes in the story. It's almost insulting to common sense.
They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
Disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit. Not going to fit. And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid fucking backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
And the elevator music was a nice touch, by the way.
Yeah.
And now the conversation moves toward the bigger issue, how this confusion, all these conflicting details, actually serve a purpose. When everything feels off, when every thread leads to a dead end, people lose faith in finding the truth. It's like information overload by design. You throw so much weirdness at people, fake suspects, conflicting photos, bizarre side stories, that no one knows what to believe anymore. It's psychological manipulation at scale. Because when you can't trust anything, you stop trying to figure it out. That's when the chaos wins. It's honestly one of the oldest tricks in modern propaganda. Creates so many half-truths that no one recognizes the real one.
So this is just a narrative, right? We watch a guy jump off the roof and then we supposedly find this rifle. So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I shot him, now shoot me, I shot him, now shoot me, and then that guy gets arrested for child porn charges, like he's like, what is going on here? And then you find this rifle and then you say, oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it. Like, okay. If I wish I was a cop, I'd sit in a room like, this story is horseshit. Like, none of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained This guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof. He shoots. He jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Yeah, we saw didn't they have video of him jump? Somebody had a cell phone video of him jump.
There's a video of him jumping. So this guy, whoever it is, jumps off of the roof and lands, whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a patsy. Maybe he did it.
I feel like he's a plant. Did you see the video? Did you see the person doing the investigating on his mom's Facebook?
No.
You haven't seen this? Have you seen that, Jamie? Some dude online.
Mom's got a weird Facebook. He spilled coffee.
Very trippy. It doesn't make any sense. Like, the more they keep looking into it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real, it feels super fabricated.
Now it gets even more bizarre. The mention of someone jumping off a roof, a mysterious video clip, and then random details about someone's mom's Facebook page being weird. This is where the digital era takes everything to another level. One strange Facebook page or a suspiciously curated social media trail suddenly becomes part of the evidence board. But let's be real. Social media is the easiest thing to manipulate. You can create, delete, or modify accounts to tell whatever story you want. That's why it's so hard to separate organic truth from digital fabrication. Everyone's chasing screenshots instead of facts, and that's exactly how misinformation spreads.
But here's the thing. Just like I was talking about when people are arguing on social media, it's all part of the plan. If you want things to be...
Oh, I wanted it so bad. Buckets.
If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you add a bunch of... If you're going to kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that.
You have an old man put his dairy out and yell, I did it, I did it, I did it.
Yeah, you get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and
his boyfriend is
talk
furry?
to him on Discord. I think he's a furry.
Is that?
I don't want to disrespect.
I don't know if that's a real thing. Is that?
His boyfriend's definitely a guy who became a girl.
Man, by the time that conversation winds down, it really leaves you sitting there thinking, doesn't it? The way Joe and Taylor pick apart the inconsistencies, not to prove some theory, but just to make sense of how chaotic things have become, it hits on something bigger. It's not just about one incident or one strange headline. It's about how stories these days feel less like news and more like a maze. Every time you think you've got a clear picture, there's a new layer, a new character, a new twist that throws the whole thing off balance again. And the craziest part? That confusion might actually be the point. When everything sounds unbelievable, people stop believing anything. It's like information overload by design. Mix in a few bizarre characters, conflicting reports, and online noise, and suddenly the truth's buried under a mountain of nonsense. That's the world we're in right now, where even the facts feel like fiction, and the fiction feels a little too well written. Honestly, that's why this episode hits harder than most. Joe and Taylor aren't pretending to have the answers. They're showing us how important it is to question everything without losing your grip on reality. Because once you stop asking questions, that's when you really lose control of the narrative.